Okay, so one of the things I want to talk with you guys about today is how to work a backup offer when you are working with a seller. And the reason this came up is because we had a property we put on the market over the weekend, and an agent told me on Saturday that they might be bringing an offer. We told them that, please get it to us as soon as possible. Monday afternoon, they didn't get it to us. We executed the offer that we got on another list. Another buyer brought an offer, and we got the second offer after we had executed the other. Actually, we got it last night, and it was much higher. It was like $20,000 higher. This property had been on the market for, we've just got it recently, but the property had been on the market for 6 months before. So the sellers were real motivated. The previous listing agent, they were going to take an offer that was much, much lower. So I wanted this to be a good example of how, we've been, working backups as a seller. And another time we'll go over how we do it with a buyer. But if you're working with the seller as a listing agent and you have a situation like this, or even if you have a situation where you have two like offers that are really close, you can use this scenario as well. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the buyer's agent and try to get them in backup position. And you're going to let them know how you handle this, right? And the way that you handle this is you tell them, look, what we're going to do is when the first buyer asks for concessions, we're going to let you know what those concessions are, okay? And you're going to pre-negotiate those concessions. It'll be verbally. I don't think you can really put anything in writing at this point, but you're going to get an understanding that either A, the buyer is going to accept the property at their backup price, knowing that these repair items are in play, or B, that you're going to do a concession based off of the repair items that buyer one has already outlined. So as an example of this, if I've got a listing and I have the first offer is $280,000 and the backup is $300,000, and the first buyer asks for a roof of like $7,000, then you know that's going to come up when the second buyer moves from backup position to first position. So it's in your seller's best interest to pre-negotiate it. And if you knock $7,000 off of $3,000, off of $300,000, then you're still $13,000 ahead. Okay, so that's how you're getting your pre-negotiation done before the backup buyer even moves into first position. Okay, once you do this, then you go back to the first buyer and you tell them, look, we're not doing anything here. Okay, because either that buyer that's in first position is going to accept the offer as is and move forward, or they're going to cancel, and you've already pre-negotiated what the buyer in backup position is going to do. Yes, there could be other things that come up, right? But and what you may want to do, what I suggest doing, is ask the buyer in first position for a copy of the inspection report, right? That way, the buyer in second position knows exactly what they're getting into, and even before you go back to the buyer in first position, right, they're going to know what they're getting into, and if the offer is much higher, then you're going to be in a better position. If the offers are the same, if they're like and like, you still do this, okay? You still do it. You're just a little bit more lenient with the first buyer, okay? Because the second buyer, you're trying to see which offer is going to be better for your seller. I can tell you, Sonny and I have done this numerous times, and we have come out ahead. I don't want to get into the whole situation between using this formula as the buyer's agent, other than to say it's exactly the opposite. The idea here is you're training the other agent on how this is done, okay? So that's going to be it for kind of the lesson of working with a backup today. I'm going to put everybody out mute. So, okay. 1 second here.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I want to flip that around from the buyer perspective for a minute, because a lot of us work with buyers, and I actually have been, I just got an email from a lady that's on a property search who wants to narrow down to one street from her map search that I set up, and there's 2 houses pending backup in the little neighborhood. So I've actually, something I do is I go in and I call those offers, those people that have backup or pending backup, and find out, you know, what's the status, and find out if their buyers are trying to negotiate. And if they are, kind of wiggling our way in, like, hey, is there an opportunity that we might be able to come in with a backup offer that's better and actually help the seller out? Because if we're inventory's tight, if you're looking at something, looking for something very specific for clients, like single story in a particular neighborhood that just doesn't exist or just rarely exist, go through and search all those backup offers, or even active contingent, obviously, and see if those could be, if you can wiggle your way into a scenario that you can send a good backup offer using the same thing that Ryan just said. Look, we're going to come in. Let us know what you guys are looking at as far as negotiating with the first buyer, because I'm pretty sure my people are going to be fine with that. So you're already pre-negotiating. You may not even have the contract, but you may not even have the backup contract yet, but start negotiating that up front to see if you can get into that backup position.
Yeah, and when you do that, the way you're going to do it is you're going to train the buyer's agent by saying that, like, look, here's the situation, guys. What we're talking about here is we're going to, when you get concession from the first buyer, right? All I need you to do is let me know what they are. We will give you the blessing on that, and we'll move forward. And I love what Johnny said about, like, you know, maybe you go above what the first buyer is in it for. If the agent will disclose that to you, say, look, I'm not asking you to disclose anything without, you know, your seller's permission. But, like, if you're at 300, tell me you're at 300, and maybe we can come in at 303. And then if the first buyer asks you for $3,000 worth of concessions, come back to me and give me the opportunity to present that to my buyers, so that, you know, we can tell you we're not going to ask for that. We're going to be the better deal for you guys. You know, backups, people say that backups are kind of a long shot. That they don't have to be, right? Especially in a market where buyers are working with agents that aren't trained. People get emotional. I mean, Sonny and I have done this so many times where, in fact, I think, Sonny, you won your own house this way, right?
I got my house on a backup, and here's how you say that to the agent. You spin it around, you don't, because everybody's going to tell you, no, I can't tell you where we're at. I said, fine, don't tell me where you're at. I said, tell me where I need to be better. And she did. And that's all. And it was probably just a few $1,000s. I don't know. I'll never know. But you know, I said, you know, just tell me where I need to be better than the offer you have. I'll do that. And then you'll come to me with everything you learn from your first offer. And that way you don't have to negotiate with them. You've got a better offer sitting on you.